delicious.
Yum.
All right, let's talk about wearables because, like I said, that's all you do here.
Because that's it, and then you can eliminate me.
That's it.
I'm done.
We'll cut the break.
The hourglass is running out. So tell me about like what is
Yeah.
popular with wearables in your life. Like, what are you doing that has you like turning to wearables and saying, "Oh, this is the thing I need."
Yeah, well, they're definitely not popular in my family. Like,
Yeah.
if I stopped using them, they would be welcomed.
Sure.
You know, because they
You'd
don't
be like,
nobody.
"Oh, this is gone. Good.
Yeah, that's one more thing I'm coddling, you know, in my life.
So you're
But-
saying you like them?
Yeah, exactly. That's fantastic. I'd say there's definitely a time to wait on getting anything unless you want to spend like $100. But like what I use them for, I kept saying first time I used a Pebble, it's basically like a pager on your wrist.
Okay.
And I don't think it's changed much since then. That the best thing a wearable does is buzz you and give you a reminder, which sometimes can be really helpful if you think you might miss a call or there's something, you know, you don't want to pick up your phone.
Right.
There's also obviously the fitness tracking part, which, you know, if you stick to a routine, the problem is it's a carrot on a stick that's got to go with like a regular gym regimen,
Right.
nutrition.
And I'm glad you brought up the fitness thing because
Yeah.
I think there's
a lot of stuff going
I don't
on
want
with
to say
that.
what I want to say, but what I
Sure,
am
sure,
going
sure.
to say is like, hey, maybe all this fitness crave stuff is not something anyone should really like completely, you know, rely on for getting healthy.
Yes, because, well, no doctor thinks of these as an answer.
Right.
So they're not medically approved.
And he looks at the chart. He's like, look, Larry, the reason you're 100 pounds overweight is
Yeah.
because you don't have a Fitbit.
Got to get yourself a Fitbit.
Right.
Yeah, it comes down to like when I've been able to lose weight or if I gain weight again, and I've used a ton of these things. First, you got to stick to one. So if I'm switching from one to the other, that's not going to work.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's just a way. It's a motivator. It's like if that works, if you've got some other system that works, but these all cap out generally at the step tracking, and they do some things like you know running or some heart rate stuff. But the deeper you get, the more active you try to get, the more fitness trackers tend to fail you.
Sure.
So if you're just trying to see, oh, was I alive and walking? This makes me sound so dismissive, but it's
Right.
true. That's great. Really, like if you're going to go to the gym 3 or 4 times a week, you know that, and you
Sure.
know what you're doing.
Watch isn't going to do it
So the
for you.
tracker is just like extra motivation. So use it for that, use it for those. I use it for things like checking the weather, which
Right.
actually things like, I mean, Dark Sky is actually a great app. Lets you know like when the weather, when it's going to rain within like 5 minutes, so you seem like Doc Brown. And,
Oh, cool.
yeah, so that I love that app.
Yeah,
It's like micro weather reports.
And I want everyone watching on YouTube, Facebook, wherever you're coming from, comment on what you're seeing right here. We're going to answer as many questions as we can, or take your comments, or do what we need to do to help you out to ensure that you have a successful July 4th weekend. And if you're not in the country and you're celebrating something else, you can have a good weekend also. So make sure you interact with us, and we'll get to some of those as they come in. But Scott, I want to pivot to specifically the Apple Watch, the Pebble, the smartwatches.
Sure.
Is right now a time to own a smartwatch?
New.
Okay, moving along.
We're
Now,
done. You know, basically, if you can spend as little as possible right now, the reason I say that is because we're expecting all these things to get updates in the fall. Like, pretty much, I mean, you think Apple Watch should, Android Wear is going to have a
New Pebble coming out.
Yeah, new Pebble is coming out. We already know about that. You expect all the other watchmakers probably going to follow suit. So you want to kick yourself for spending several $100s on something that's going to get updated. Now, summer is a good time to wear one because you're probably out and about, but it's just not a great time to buy one. Unless, again, Pebble actually makes a couple of very affordable ones. That's probably a pretty good way to go for something where you're not spending a lot of money, or if something's on sale, like $100, wherever you feel comfortable with. Like if it's buying a pair of shoes,
Right.
and you're okay with getting a new pair of shoes later, but just it's like, I don't want to tell you, don't come to me later, tell me that, oh, there's a new version out. That's the problem.
So you're
And
saying,
I think they all need improvement, so there's no perfect smartwatch right now, definitely.
what are you going to say, Joe?
I think one that he mentioned that I'm looking forward to is the Microsoft Band 3.
I just learned that there is something
There
called
is-
the Microsoft Band 3. Tell me about it.
No, the 2 is current right now. The
Right,
2
that's
right
what
now.
you're wearing.
And
But
many
I would
people
like-
may not be aware of the Microsoft Band 1 and 2 at this
Right.
point.
Well, I mean, in a smart band sense, I like a regular watch on my left hand.
Of course.
And I like something that doesn't look like a watch on my right hand.
Okay, now you're
well
a
because
little
I don't want to
stranger.
look like I'm wearing 2 watches.
But you do look
But
like you're
you
wearing
do
But
two
look
no,
watches.
because honestly, if this wasn't so glossy, it would look like
You look like some time traveler.
it would look
that,
like the Live
needs
Strong.
to-
It looked like the Live Strong Armstrong
No.
band from
You look
Nike.
like
But
me
anyway,
when
No.
I'm like testing gadgets most
I-
days.
You're not fooling anyone.
I love this because it has GPS and I ride a bicycle, and a lot of them don't have GPS except for like some of the Garmin ones. and stuff
Garmin
like that.
ones, and then increasingly some of the fitness sports ones.
Because I started out with the Nike Fuel Band, loved it, was great for steps. It was great because of the community.
It was great for steps.
Because it was great for steps in the community because it had little motivational flags. It'd give you, yay, Fortnite,
Right.
etc.
Right.
But it was horrible if I rode my bicycle because I would ride my bicycle maybe 10 miles and somebody would run 2 miles and it'd kick my butt in the so-called Nike Fuel measurement system. I like this because it actually logs my distance because it has GPS.
Okay.
I like it. It also has UV. I can respond.
UV?
Do you use the UV feature though?
I will this weekend.
Really? But have you actually found that it's
Oh,
like
this
good
is something
feedback?
that appeals to my clear ass.
It has a UV
It does
sensor
have a UV
underneath.
sensor.
Oh, where? I mean, let's be honest. It's got it under your wrist.
Well, I mean, you can wear
supposed
you can
to-
wear it the other way around. The band can be
Hold on,
worn.
let me see if it's sunny.
And you
Come
actually
on,
are meant. So the Microsoft Band, I think you're kind of meant to wear it flipped around, with the band, with the screen
Oh, so
underneath.
you're wearing it wrong.
You're wearing it wrong.
No, because I'd rather scratch this because I'm typing all the time.
please.
Than,
Oh,
than-
okay.
Because then
than
you
bang.
flip and you can
Yeah,
do
I'd
the
rather not
readout.
bang the
Otherwise,
screen.
you're like that,
Plus-
and you're bending your arm.
Another reason,
Doesn't work
actually,
with your arm.
another benefit to having it underneath though is you can have your text alerts and when Scott
Right, be
tweeted,
discreet.
they come on the top and everybody,
that.
like my son is always like.
I got you.
You can like put your nose. You can use your nose to.
But I would like to
swipe the
see,
screen.
in
I've
terms
done
of
that.
features, it's great. I would like to see a better battery life.
Yeah.
And maybe a little more refined design. But I'm content with all the features it has.
All right, you're welcome, Microsoft. That's the longest
You're
time we
on
ever had
board.
about the band.
You were on board with Microsoft.
Well, because they just
They
added,
collect a lot of
but they
data.
also
That's definitely
added
true.
they also added sports community as a sleep tracker. So now like Nick Healy is my only other friend with a Microsoft 2 band. So I could see how well Nick did, and then people within my
Join
age
Joe
group.
and Nick in the community.
You guys holding another meeting?
Well, no, because another thing you could get competitive. You
Yeah.
could be
All right.
competitive. So,
All right.
you know,
I don't want to
That's
spend too much
actually
time. on it.
social-
Nick's not doing more steps in Australia than I can do in New York.
Well, it's
This is
gravity's
a big
different.
thing. Yeah, social is if you're going to do those fitness band stuff. One of the main points is you do it to compete with people.
Yeah, they had to gamify it.
Yeah, gamify. And like, I mean, finally Apple Watch is getting on board with that, but Fitbit, that's the main appeal of Fitbit, I think, is that you say, oh, you have a friend that does it. So again,
Right.
if it's like, I mean, if you have like 10 friends that all are like using Jawbones,
Right.
you're like the Jawbone, exactly, you said, you got the club, then join that club.
Yeah.
Because you got your Jawbone club. But hopefully it's a platform that a
that-
lot of other people are using.
Does that feel stupid when you say that?
Jawbone Club. Join that Jawbone Club. Well, it's like people used to spend all sorts of money on other like diet plans and things. Everybody would buy a gadget just to do those things back in the 70s or whatever that period of time was.
Yeah.
You didn't have, more advanced pedometers. But what I'm just saying is, yeah.
All right. Well, listen. Let's
sounds-
let's hear
sounds
what the internet
ridiculous.
has to say about
Yeah,
this fine
yeah.
stuff. I believe we have a couple questions
Social's
from
the reason.
the internet.
Yes, guys. So Elliot on YouTube just had a comment. He says that he likes the Moto 360 for its spaces. Dominic on Facebook loves his Pebble for its long battery charge. RJ said he's tried several of the smartwatches out there, but he likes just an old-fashioned watch for the basics. And Jorge had a question. He wants to know if you think GPS could come to a future version of an Apple Watch, or if there's any speculation that you guys have heard about an Apple Watch 2 in the future.
Scott, what do you think about the GPS on an Apple Watch?
Well, biggest
Yeah,
problem with
It's
GPS.
the iPhone.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, just strap that around your wrist.
Biggest problem with GPS is the battery life hit, because you're going to
Right.
get like 6 hours maximum of GPS use before most of these devices die, and so the battery life is already pretty low on the Apple Watch. You're like a day and a half, and do you want to cut that down further? That's the only problem, and then you also have to make it a little bit bigger, probably, because a lot of these things have to find a way to get that mechanism, get that tech in there.
Right, like man, they just need to make the Apple Watch automatic, huh?
That's what I think is just focus on making it more automatic and more seamless.
So when I say automatic, I mean like powered by the motion of your wrist.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
You know what I
Yes,
mean?
exactly.
Like I get it, that's an
Kinetic.
insane amount of energy you're producing, but like, yeah, watches kind of need to have that. That's why like the automatic watches of the world are amazing,
Right.
And just kind of like laugh in the face of all these smartwatches.
Well, it's charging is the most annoying thing, and it's amazing to me how many people seem okay with charging their device. The problem is this: if we had some sort of universal charging. There's Qi. I mean, like a universal charging mat or stand.
Right.
But what happens is that all of these wearables don't use it, or they use it in some way. You have to use a special little
It's ridiculous.
attachment. You can't just chuck them on the table.
We were
your
promised
magic
the
charging
mat.
table.
We were promised the mat.
Yeah,
where
you
just
can't
like,
chuck them on your charging table.
Yeah.
But if you could just take off all your stuff, and your shoes, your hat, your smart glasses, your smart pants, whatever, you put those on the charge table. Sure,
be
that's
nice.
great.
I mean-
but I'm not going to hunt around for these dongles and carry them, and it gets frustrating. Pebble I do like is the battery life.
Yeah, like
That's a thing.
Look,
Solid week.
full disclosure, full transparency. I pre-ordered a Pebble Time 2
Yeah.
on Kickstarter. I backed it. I always wanted a Pebble, but I convinced myself to wait, and I feel like I'm finally going to be rewarded for my patience. This Pebble Time 2, I think, looks like, I like the size of that screen. They really doubled up on that.
They did.
Yeah.
And I think that they've been making, a lot of these watches have been making gains if you do care about fitness tracking.
Right.
The basic fitness tracking has all been getting better on those watches.
Okay.
Android Wear has been getting better over time. Pebble has been doing automatic step and sleep tracking. So it kind of almost does the same thing that you would get out of a Fitbit minus, again, the community. But some basic features are already in there. So you might find yourself pretty happy with a lot of what it offers. Just don't expect, again, like the idea of apps on a watch, if you even want that stuff's not there. Some of the things like, payments are starting to show up. But again, like how often do I use this for payments? I've always got my wallet, and it's not showing up on every terminal. So
Yeah. What do you think the next big step smartwatches have to achieve for them to hit this sort of like critical mass?
Well, I had dinner in San Francisco when I was out there last time. It was like sitting next to this couple, and it's like the classic average, person. Well, they were in tech, so it's different.
Right.
But I thought that their comment was going to be something about like battery life, and basically they just said, "Yeah, you tell Apple, I'll buy one of those when it doesn't cost $700."
This is price.
And price, and like I can use it away from my phone.
Yeah. You have to sever that connection.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
I actually think those two things that actually hits on something. It's price, and when the more people realize how much you need your phone around, these things do a little bit without your phone, but not enough, and that really breaks the like magic super watch thought.
Sure.
Like, what am I using this for?
Yeah.
So I think you could do it more with that. Now 3G connection. Some of these watches already have cellular. Samsung Gear S2 3G.
Again, you're talking. It's another radio. It's another power sub.
Yeah, it cuts down. All these things cut down. When I wear them, sometimes they last for like 9 hours.
It's crazy.
A battery. LG has one that is 3G Android Wear, but you have to pay for the extra data. They're bigger. They don't really make much sense. A lot of the apps don't really feel hooked into it.
Right.
So it's kind of an interesting idea, but it's not really an interesting idea. But at some point, you do want it to work, just like work. And I know that sounds dumb and obvious, but that's it. Is that you don't want to spend a lot of time on your watch. Everybody's onto that.
We're just not there yet.
No.
We're just not there yet.
And watch faces. I think finally, like somebody said, that's a great point about watch faces.
About the 360, yeah.
Just make all these things should be are cool watch
And, like,
faces.
And
that
let
have-
me do it on the computer. Like, give me
Yeah.
a great set of tools, Pebble, Moto, whatever it is, even Apple. Do it, Apple.
Yeah, let me build it.
Let me build it and do what I want.
and add as many. If I want that screen
Complications.
filled
Yeah.
with like 20
All the
little
state capitals.
tiny bits of
I don't know
info
why.
where I just like am looking at it with a microscope
yeah.
like a jeweler's loop. So what?
I want that.
I agree.
All right, we're
Do whatever I want.
There's a question from YouTube. Are smartwatch batteries getting bigger?
Like physically, or
No, they weren't specific.
I guess they have to get bigger if they're going to take up more real estate. You mean?
They may have to,
don't know.
or I think you're going to have a hard time making even more efficient process. You're up against a bit of a wall.
Right.
They might have to get a little bit bigger,
Yeah.
or come up with. I mean, I actually think a way to go would be maybe some sort of battery wristband.
Yeah, maybe.
Or
that makes sense. I like that. I want to see that. Apple's put batteries in everything. Put it in the wristband.
well, Pebble did that whole smart band thing, which
Yeah.
never really turned into anything. And so why don't you have like smart strap accessories?
Right. All right. Good thought.